Hello, and today's purpose of the day is I can determine geometric and arithmetic sequences and write equations for those sequences. I can also solve word problems involving mean, median, and mode. For mean, median, and mode practice, you are going to take a look at a worksheet and get in-class practice. Let's review arithmetic sequences. Arithmetic sequences are sequences of numbers that follow a pattern by adding a fixed number from one term to the next. So the general equation for an arithmetic sequence is f of x equals mx plus b, where m is the common difference, x is the term, and b is the value of the zeroth term. So let's take a look at the example up at the right. Let's write a formula for the sequence and determine the 50th term. So as we look at the sequence, we can tell that the sequence is subtracting 2 each time. So for my formula, I am going to write f of x equals negative 2x, because negative 2 is the common difference, and then I actually have to find the zero term, so I have to work backwards and find the zero term. So what minus 2 is 20? Well, that would be 22, so 22 would be my b zero term here. So the formula is f of x equals negative 2x plus 22. Then to find the 50th term, I would just plug in 50 for x into my calculator, and I get an output of negative 78 for the 50th term. Let's take a look at the second example. So here I can see that the common difference is adding 3 each time. So into my formula, I have f of x equals 3x, and now I have to work backwards and find the zeroth term. So what plus 3 is 5? Well, if I don't know that, I could always reverse it and say what's 5 minus 3 to give me 2. And so I would have f of x equals 3x plus 2. To find the 23rd term, I would plug in 23 for x and get an output of 71 for the 23rd term. All right, one more example for arithmetic sequences. I can see that the common difference here is plus 5 each time. So I can write my formula, f of x equals, again, m here would be 5, so 5x, and then I have to work backwards and find the zeroth term. So what plus 5 is 26? Well, that would be 21, so my formula is f of x equals 5x plus 21, and the 200th term would be 1021. Now let's take a look at geometric sequences. Geometric sequences are a sequence of numbers that follow a pattern by multiplying a fixed number from one term to the next. So the formula that you are given on your formula sheet that we are going to practice using is f of x equals a times b to the x power, where a is the value and x is 0, so the zero term, and b is the common ratio, and x is the term we want. Now I know when we were going over geometric sequences that we also did learn another formula, so if you would like to continue to use that formula, you certainly can. I am going to use this formula because this is the formula that you will see on your formula sheet during MCA testing, so I'm going to practice using this one. So let's take a look at the first example. So I'm going to look at this example and see what the common ratio is. So I see from 2 to 4, that's times 2. For 4 to 8, times 2. 8 to 16, times 2. So I know that my common ratio is 2. So far I have f of x equals something times 2 to the power of x. But I need to work backwards and find the zeroth term. So what times 2 is 2? Well, if it doesn't jump out at you that that's 1, you could always take 2 and work backwards and divide it by 2 to get that previous number. So here it is 1, so I would put f of x equals 1 times 2 to the power of x. Then to figure out the 60th term, I would plug in 60 for x, and we get actually a very large number, so I'm going to write that in scientific notation. We get 1.2 times 10 to the 18th power. Example number 2, write an equation for the nth term in the sequence, 1,248, so on and so forth. So I need to figure out the common ratio. So from 1,000 to 200, 200 to 40, 40 to 8. It looks to me, well, I know 40 divided by 8 is 5. but I can't have a division problem, I need multiplication. So if it doesn't jump out at you that that's 1/5, take 8 and divide it by 40. Take 40, divide it by 200. Take any term and divide it by its previous term, and you will see that it's times 1/5. Times 1/5, so on and so forth. So here I know I'm going to have f of x equals something times 1/5 to the power of x. So now if I work backwards from actually 1,000, what times 1/5 equals 1,000? We'll reverse it and say 1,000 divided by 1/5 equals 5,000. So 5,000 is actually my zero term. So my equation then would be f of x equals 5,000 times 1/5 to the power of x. Then to find the 16th term, I would plug in 16 for x, and I get a very small number, so in scientific notation, that is 3.3 times 10 to the -8th. Let's look at one more example. Write an equation for the nth term in the sequence 64, 32, 16, and 8. Well, I can tell here that it is being multiplied by 1/2, because that's the same thing as dividing by 2. So this is f of x equals, and I'll have to wait to find my zero term, times 1/2 to the power of x. Let's write that a little bit better. So if I work backwards, what times 1/2 is 64? Well, 64 divided by 1/2 is 128. So 128 would be my zero term. The 100th term here, if I plug in 100 for x, would be 1 times 10 to the -28th. And please make sure you are practicing typing these in your calculator to know how to do these correctly. That will really help in the long run. Thanks for listening. Please see Schoology for more information. Have a great day. Bye.